Welcome to our Clean Water Connection podcast, KBHWA, Keeping Black Hills Water Alive. This podcast is brought to you by Black Hills Clean Water Alliance. Our mission is working to stop radioactive and destructive mining pollution in our precious waterways. Madakiapi, Pejuto Kagawi Emachiapie. My relatives, I am your host, Denise Gallego. I'm a member of the Oglala Lakota Nation and the social media coordinator for Black Hills Clean Water Alliance. In this episode, Episode 1, Season 2, we will begin at the beginning. First, I'd like to acknowledge the work of my predecessor, Miana Fay. She was the first host of our Clean Water Connections podcast. In 2022, this podcast began, and Miana recorded 4 information-packed episodes. I will be recapping those first 4 episodes because they are loaded with great information from these interviews. I'm going to highlight some of those moments to create a conversation about our beautiful and unique Black Hills, the history of mining in this area, and most importantly, about the water, because it all begins with and comes back to our water. So with that, let's dive right into Episode 1. Miana interviews Executive Director and founding member of the Black Hills Clean Water Alliance, Dr. Lilius Jardine, and Carla Ray Marshall, whose work is integral to the Black Hills Clean Water Alliance mission.
Our guests today will be Dr. Lilius Jardine and Carla Ray Marshall.
Good day. Thank you, Miana. Yeah, I'm here with Black Hills Clean Water Alliance. I'm one of the founders of the organization, and we founded the organization in 2009 in response to the reappearance of the proposals to mine uranium in the Black Hills. Today we work to protect water from gold mining in the Black Hills, from lithium mining that's popping up now, and from rare earths mining in the Wyoming side of the Black Hills.
Thank you, Miana, for bringing us to the table here. My name is Carla Ray Marshall, and I am an enrolled member of the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe. I live here in Chesapa in Rapid City. My involvement with being part of Black Hills Clean Water Alliance is that I started following Black Hills Alliance back in the late 70s and helping with some of the actions that they were doing. Also was part of survival school down in Porcupine when I was real young, 18 at the time. Mini is very important. Like one of my mushkes would say, this was our first medicine. We were born from water. Our bodies are made of water. So water is alive. I believe that. I believe that the natural waters we have here, it is alive and it needs to be protected.
As we work in the community and bring attention to mining issues, we are always reminded to bring the emphasis back to the water. Dr. Jardine explains.
Water doesn't protect itself in the sense that mining companies come in. People have to stand up and fight back. So the Black Hills is a really unique place. If you've never been here, it's surrounded by the Great Plains, and the northern Great Plains go on for the central Black Hills and the southern Black Hills. And that area is specifically notable because it feeds the water that goes into Rapid Creek, which is the water supply for Rapid City, which is the second largest city in the state, and also for Ellsworth Air Force Base, which is a large Air Force base. And then it flows down into the Cheyenne River, which has many rural and reservation communities along it that use the water for ranching and agriculture and municipal supply. And then it goes into the Missouri River. So the water that we have here flows all the way through the Missouri River and the Mississippi River to the Gulf of Mexico eventually. So we're an important source water area, both for surface water and for groundwater.
Of course, a conversation regarding the Black Hills cannot be had without the 1851 and 1868 Fort Laramie Treaties being part of the discussion. Carla Ray Marshall.
So one thing about the Black Hills, the Chasapa, the heart of everything that is that we need to protect this land. This is treaty territory land. Under the 1851, 1868 Fort Laramie Treaties, this land was from the east bank of the Missouri River all the way to the Rocky Mountains. These lands were under treaty. And with the finding of gold in Montana first came encroachment.
Carla Ray Marshall explains a little bit more about the geology of the Chasapa.
So here in the Black Hills, the water is very important, of course. It's we've got major bedrock aquifers in the region. Those are the spearfish, the Minilusa, the Minikata, the Madison, Deadwood, and Iankaga aquifers. Then there's minor bedrock aquifers. So underneath the Black Hills, you have all these aquifers or groundwater, call them underground lakes, are in need of being recharged.
I encourage everyone to go back and listen to the complete interview because it is packed with valuable information about the history of mining in the Black Hills. In episode 2, titled State and Federal Water Laws in South Dakota, we are joined by Jeff Parsons and Bruce Ellison, two lawyers who have been on the front lines for years protecting Black Hills water. They share their personal and professional experiences regarding work with state, rural, tribal, and federal water law issues in the Black Hills.
Hello, my name is Jeff Parsons. I'm a lawyer with the Western Mining Action Project. Some of the issues with water quality are some of the most difficult to address. Of course, the companies, when they propose a mining operation, do a environmental study when they propose on federal lands anyway, under what's called the National Environmental Policy Act. People call it NEPA. And under that act, there is a requirement to do an environmental study and try to predict what kind of water quality you're going to have and how you're going to deal with it. Unfortunately, what we found over the years is the predictions in those studies almost always underestimate the impact, underestimate how poisonous or acidic the water is going to be. And so you'll have one set of studies that say it's going to be just fine. The water's not going to be very toxic or polluting. And the mine will go in, and then lo and behold, we'll have problems. The mine will end up having more significant pollution and water issues than it thought it would have. And then we're in a bind because the mine is in, the water problems are occurring, and it's very difficult to, sort of put the genie back in the bottle. It's very difficult to correct those water quality problems once they've already started. Even if you shut the mine down, the rock has already been dug up, the water is already starting to get polluted, and it's just very difficult to fix the problem once it starts.
Next, lawyer Bruce Ellison discusses his experience with state water laws.
I think a way to look at our water laws state water laws, is to begin with the basic issue of the fact that South Dakota law says that the Department of now Agriculture and Natural Resources, particularly the Water Management Board, are the trustees for the water within the boundaries of the state, and that all of the water belongs to the people. It doesn't belong to the corporations. It doesn't belong to the state. The state is the trustee. And the law is very clear on that responsibility. It is supposed to be for the benefit of the people within the boundaries of the state of South Dakota. It is supposed to be for current and future generations. So we have this situation now where massive parts of the Black Hills are being threatened with the real potential of open pit or deep shaft gold mining or rare earth mining. And you have to remember that a lot of times what we call rare earth minerals are often found with gold. And also, the other heavy metals. What we're talking about, though, is can the people get our state agencies to understand its trust responsibility?
So it's truly our responsibility to hold the state offices, the federal offices, accountable to their obligation, their trust obligation to protect our water. In this next clip, Bruce reiterates the complex nature of Black Hills water and also touches upon the destructive process of in situ leach uranium mining.
It's all these systems are so interconnected throughout the Black Hills and providing just major water entrance into the underground recharging of our aquifers and all of our aquifers. And as they flow, and the Cheyenne River Basin is a central flowing east conduit for waters that come from the central Black Hills, from the northern Black Hills, from the southern Black Hills. They all come together in the Cheyenne River Basin and flow out to the Missouri. So everything that we do in the hills that affects our surface or subsurface waters ends up not only affecting all life on the way to the Missouri, and dramatically, but also once it gets to the Missouri River. So it's important that we really understand how the water that we drink, the water that we bathe in, the water that our animals, that the natural world uses to thrive, all its interrelationships, and basically to try and get our state agencies to basically do their job. The area of water, because uranium is mined in aquifers. The uranium that's being sought on the southern hills is in the Indian Cara aquifer, which is one of the four major aquifers that are recharged on the Black Hills. And for example, about 2/3 of the people in Fall River County drink their water from the Indian Cara. The area which is being mined must receive a permanent exclusion from ever being used in the future as a drinking water source. And so what this means is we are allowing for not only contamination, but basically the destruction of water areas.
In episode 3, we meet Reno Red Cloud and learn about his experience as the Oglala Sioux Tribe Water Resource Department Administrator. Mr. Red Cloud has years of experience working with water for the Oglala Sioux Tribe, and he talks about some of his experiences.
Okay, good morning. My name's Reno Red Cloud. I am the Oglala Sioux Tribe Water Resource Department Administrator, and I just wanted to give my experience of working with uranium mining, the background that I have. I worked for the Oglala Sioux Tribe for over 30 years. I started in 1978 with a company, well drilling company. Then I went into being a water operator for the Oglala Sioux Tribe Water and Sewer Company. And then I worked 16 years for the Mini Wachoni Water Project on the Pine Ridge Reservation as a supervisor and a director. And it seems fitting that I just gradually moved into where I'm at now as a water resource administrator. I administer and I manage the water code. And since I've been at this position, I've expanded knowledge of the treaties of 1851, 1868, because our water codes are just extensions of these treaties that I'm managing on the reservation. And then a lot of I really do believe the Black Hills National Forest and all these federal agencies need to hold their trust responsibility in my eyes, as a tribal member, anything that's associated with the Treaty of 1851 and 1868, that should tell the government that a 106 NH National Historic Preservation Act survey should be done automatically. This is a sacred place. It's been here. I don't think it's really ever been surveyed to the point where it needs to be recognized, honored, and there's a lot of sacred sites.
In this next clip, Reno shares more information regarding the treaties and tribal consultation.
The 1851-1868 treaty, I am the sixth generation grandson of Chief Red Cloud. He was the signer on both of them. But, that Article 6 of the treaties is that the treaties are supreme law of the land. But as it went down the line, the government backed off under treaties and, denied and neglected them, and to the point where, we're at the point where our treaties are not even being recognized and honored. And, our treaties were there before the state of South Dakota and North Dakota became states. But then you bring that up and it's not going to be acknowledged because the big movement nowadays, motivation is money, monetary gain, prosperity. But in reality, what you're taking from our precious sacred ground and our water, once it's contaminated, in my eyes, it's gonna probably we're literally sacrificing our water and our land and everything. But I noticed when it comes down to big projects, not only with mining but like with the Missouri River projects, tribal consultation, which is part of the NEPA process, like with the environmental assessments, environmental impact statements, when it comes to the tribal consultations, it's either going to get bypassed or they're just going to do it as a formality, saying they met with the tribes. In all reality, I think the tribal consultation, in my book, as being a descendant of Chief Red Cloud and a tribal member, it's either our consent or no way at all. And if we don't consent to it, then that should hold some merit in this decision-making process. And I brought this up many times to many federal agencies. Where are we at? Because the bottom line is, just like I said earlier, the protection, preservation of our sacred lands from the Native American perspective is not recognized and honored. It's more of a business venture where they're just going to look at how someone's going to benefit from it, but that's kind of been the way it's been ever since the white man came onto the Indian land. But I think tribal consultation, and I do think that tribes need to come together and work with each other on changing the 1872 Mining Act. It's just my, those are the directions I wish we could go.
In this episode, we are also joined by Dr. Lilias Jarding. She will share with us information about uranium mining in the Black Hills, both historic and current day.
I wanted to talk a little bit about what uranium mining is and what the kind of uranium mining is that the company Encore or PowerTech wants to do in the southwestern hills. So there are three basic kinds of uranium mining. The first is digging it out of a tunnel underground. The second is open pit uranium mining, and both of those were done historically in the southwestern Black Hills and are generally still sitting there, along with about 7,500 old open drill holes. So there's a lot of leftovers from the old mining and past exploration that needs to be cleaned up before anything else happens in that area. And the third type of uranium mining is in situ leach uranium mining, which is what the company Encore or PowerTech wants to do at this point in the southwestern Black Hills. And in situ leach uranium mining involves leaching the uranium out of the rock, and it's all done underground. You can see the tops of the well heads above the surface of the ground, but it's kind of hidden, so you can't really tell what's going on. And the process is that the company will drill a number of wells, and the wells will go into the aquifer with the uranium deposit. And this kind of mining can only be done directly in a groundwater aquifer. So there has to be water there for it to work. And what they do is they pump a solution down through the wells, through the uranium deposit. It picks up the uranium along with heavy metals and other things. And then they pump it to the surface through some other wells. So there are wells that pump down and wells that pump up. And there's a lot of wells that we're talking about. The project in the Southwestern Hills would use about 4,000 wells at the current way that it's set up. They might use more if they expand the project, which would probably happen if they started. And so in situ leach uranium mining is a big threat to water anywhere where it's done. And this can happen by the uranium-laden solution getting loose underground, getting out of the mining area. That happens. It's called an excursion. It can also get out of the mining area, which has happened at least a few places that we know of. It can have a pipe or a pump break. There's a lot of things being piped and pumped around under pressure. And so if you get a pipe or a pump that breaks, then the solution with uranium in it gets sprayed around or flows around outside of where it's supposed to be. You can also have water contamination due to the ponds that the company would have for allowing water to settle and settle out radium or other things. And they might be evaporation ponds, so they might allow the things to just evaporate off, and whatever's left they dispose of. So those ponds can leak. They can also overflow. The area where they want to do uranium mining has had major flooding in the past. So overflowing ponds are certainly a possibility. But water, it's water, right? That's the problem, is that it contaminates water, which is true of all uranium mining.
So the amount of water that they are taking from the groundwater aquifers, what's the recharge look like? Is it recharging at a fast enough rate to restore the water levels?
Nobody knows for sure because aquifers are understudied. And because it's all underground and it's understudied, there are guesses. The state makes guesses when it gives out water permits about how much water is there and how fast it is being recharged by outside water. But my position is that no one really knows. It's not been studied enough to know. Even if you study it a lot, it's extremely hard to tell because it's all underground. And you can tell kind of where water is coming from and kind of where it's going. But it's not like they can put a gauge in an aquifer under the ground and say, oh, this is flowing at the rate of 100 gallons per minute. They don't have that kind of information. They don't know how to do it, or they aren't doing it, one or the other. So we would hope that all that 9,000 gallons per minute that they want to pump would be recharged, but we don't really know, in my opinion.
In episode 4, we are joined by Lakota Elder and Black Hills Clean Water Alliance board member Cheryl Angel, and Surrounded Bear, a member of the Indigenous Youth Council Oglala chapter. And we'll be talking about our relationship with water. What does that mean, and how can we incorporate this relationship into our everyday lives?
The concept is universal, not just for the Plains Indians, but on every continent. There are indigenous peoples who were chosen, just like we were, to be the stewards and landscapes of the lands that they occupy, the lands that they were created from, and the lands that they are still occupying and living. So this concept that water is alive and has a purpose and has a voice and has a duty, has feelings, has memories, is not just a Lakota philosophy. It's not just an idea. It's a universal, scientific, And maybe the scientists today aren't at the level of our understanding of the universe and its properties, but we are. And somewhere in the future, they're going to find out water's alive. Water remembers what we did to it. And I hope that day comes tomorrow so that people, especially scientists, will stand up and say, hey, you're dealing with a living entity, and you can't use it without consent. And water's been here from the beginning. Water was here before the plants. Water was here before the people. Water was here before the animals. And so we're the newcomers. And we're the ones that need to learn how to live respectfully with the land. But there isn't a discussion on the table about what's going to happen when we don't have water. Right now, people are fighting for water. But we need to be intelligent, act intelligent, and say, let's safeguard the water that we have available to us now. And how can we expand that? How can we make sure that it doesn't get smaller and smaller because the population is getting bigger and bigger? So you can go to Black Hills Clean Water Alliance webpage, and you can read everything we know, everything we've researched about lithium, about gold mining, about silver mining, about uranium. We did all the work. We have people who researched, all of the permits that are open now here in the Black Hills. Any number of those in whatever community that you're living in, when you need to voice your opinion and say, hey, we don't want to destroy the water that we have. We don't want to take the chance of contaminating the most precious resource to humanity on this planet, in our neighborhood, in our backyard, here in the Black Hills, in the heart of everything that is. So I ask you to do your part and stand with us as we fight off these permits. Do whatever you can. Water needs your help. Our relative, water, really needs your help. So thank you.
Help me, Dakuya, be surrounded by Helmie, White Plume Tiwahe, O Yuchbe Tioshpaye, O Glala Lakota Titruan, O Spaye. Let Betuki mi chante eta Yushkia na bet shoes up below. Help my relatives. My name's Surrounded Bear. I come from the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. I'm a 20-year-old Oglala Lakota, and I'm here with Black Hills Clean Waters Alliance to share a little bit. I grew up hearing Lakota teachings from my family, who's kind of strongly connected, and some of the teachings they taught me was that we were created in water, and straight from the womb, right after we were born into this world, our mothers and grandmothers would make sage water for us to drink, and that would be our first medicine coming into this world. My grandparents, who I grew up with, is Wayoia Najiwi, Deborah White Plume. She was a strong Lakota matriarch and a water protector. And my grandpa, who I grew up with, is Iya Hokshi, Alex White Plume. And he was a strong Lakota Nacha. And he grew up raising buffaloes and horses. Just growing up, seeing all these things kind of helped shape my mind, helped me recognize how powerful the people are whenever they gather, whenever they meet for one specific purpose, a good purpose. Seeing the possibilities, just it inspired me.
Wow, it is really a deep conversation about our relationship to water, being water beings ourselves living on a water planet. so much good information on all of those episodes. It was truly difficult to pick the best clips. I really hope this recap inspires you to go back and to listen to all these interviews in their entirety. Thank you for joining us on this episode, Episode 1 of Season 2 of our Clean Water Connections podcast, KBHWA, Keeping Black Hills Water Alive. Black Hills Clean Water Alliance is a diverse group of individuals in our communities who are passionate about keeping our water clean and protected. For more information, go to our website at bhcleanwateralliance.org. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter X. Until next time, my relatives, take good care of yourselves and drink plenty of water. Dogsha Ake.